Stop everything, halt the scroll, mute the TV humming in the background, because what just happened in Cleveland is not a routine roster update. This is a line carved into the ground, a moment that reshapes the franchise. Before the Steelers, before the most venomous rivalry game on the calendar, before the final heartbeat of this Browns season fades out. I'm speaking as a fan, as someone who has lived this team, suffered with it, believed in it year after year. The Browns have made their final call on Deshaun Watson. And if you think this decision ends in 2025, think again. This reverberates into 2026, 2027, maybe even further. Cleveland is burning right now, and this changes everything. Let's get straight to the truth. No spin, no sugarcoating. The Browns will not activate Deshaun Watson to the active roster. The 21-day window is closed, locked, sealed. Kevin Stefanski confirmed it after practice. Watson is not being activated. He's going back to the PUP list. And that means one crystal clear reality: Watson is done for 2025, period. No full team practices, no snaps, no offensive reps. Just individual work, alone, grinding his way back from two devastating Achilles injuries. And this is where the fan base gets emotionally ripped in half, because at the same time, Stefanski praised him, genuinely, called him professional, said he worked relentlessly, improved in meetings, stayed late, put in extra sessions inside the indoor facility. Then Mary Kay Cabot dropped a match on gasoline. According to internal sources, Watson was one of the most talented quarterbacks on the practice field. Didn't look like a guy coming off 2 surgeries. Looked ready, looked sharp, looked dangerous. So the question hits like a punch to the chest. If he looks that good, why not activate him now? And this is where the NFL reminds you who really runs the show. This isn't just football. It never is. Activating Watson now means physical exposure. It means risking a setback. It means lighting a massive financial asset on fire. It means potential locker room instability. And let's be honest, dog pound, this franchise has survived enough chaos already. Watson hasn't played since October 2024. That's more than a full year removed from real NFL football. He's 30 years old, tied to an enormous contract, with the back end of that deal approaching fast. Activating him now would be a public declaration that he's the present, and clearly Cleveland isn't ready to say that out loud. What they want is control, time, leverage, flexibility. 2026 is the real battleground. Watson on the roster, open competition, no promises, no guarantees. Maybe he's the starter, maybe he's a bridge, maybe he's plan B, and that uncertainty shakes the foundation of everything. Now let's talk about the name splitting Cleveland right down the middle. Shedeur Sanders. The kid isn't whining, he isn't deflecting, he isn't stirring drama. He said, "I live in the present." That's maturity. That's mental toughness. But the context is brutal. 1 win, 4 losses, and if you're staring at box scores, you're missing the truth. Shedeur improvises, extends plays, shows courage, shows command, and now comes the real trial by fire. The Steelers, a violent defense, ugly football, straight-up trench warfare, then the Bengals. Meanwhile, Watson watches. Massive contract, proven talent, foggy future. How does this locker room breathe in 2026? The fans feel it. We always do. The dog pound has endured too many quarterbacks, too many false dawns, too many resets. This decision sends a message that echoes loudly. Nobody is untouchable. Not the expensive veteran, not the promising rookie. And that can either stabilize everything or detonate it, because if Shedeur rises, Watson becomes a shadow. If Shedeur stumbles, Watson becomes pressure. And if the draft delivers another quarterback name, then my friend, that's a seismic event in Cleveland. So I'll leave you with this challenge. No fear, no filters. Are the Browns protecting Deshaun Watson or protecting their own narrative? Was this decision about football or about financial and political fallout? Do you truly trust that this front office knows who the quarterback of the future is? Patience is a virtue, but indecision is expensive in the NFL. This decision didn't end today. It began today. Watson out for 2025. Shedeur tested in the fire. Cleveland watching the draft. Past, present, and future colliding all at once. Now I want to hear from you. Do you keep Watson in 2026? Does Shedeur deserve more time, or is it time to turn the page for good? Comment, debate, disagree. This voice belongs to the fans. And if you live this roller coaster called the Cleveland Browns, subscribe to Browns News today. There's no neutrality here. There's only soul. Dog pound forever. It's Christmas Eve. While most people are at home with their families, lights glowing, food on the table, Shedeur Sanders is in Cleveland, grinding, locked in, focused, working. And listen to how he frames it. Drive by drive, possession by possession. No panic, no noise. You open the game with a touchdown drive, and once again, he shows it plainly. I can be a starting quarterback in this league, not begging for validation, not screaming for attention, just stacking proof, letting the tape speak. Now Shedeur is preparing for his first ever NFL matchup against Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and what's happening next is wild. Exclusive practice footage just dropped, and what's unfolding behind closed doors in Cleveland is enough to make you sit up straight. Most college players spend the holidays decompressing. Family time, rest, a mental reset. Not Shedeur Sanders. He's wired differently. As Christmas approaches, he's entrenched with the first-team offense, taking every rep he can possibly earn, absorbing the system, building rhythm. And this is where the story gets even more compelling. Mike Tomlin spoke highly of Shedeur during the pre-draft process. He said Shedeur is doing a really good job growing week by week, and that there's something special about watching that growth happen alongside others. High praise from one of the most respected coaches in football. Remember the rumors. Pittsburgh might draft him. Then whispers surfaced that some people inside the organization didn't want him. Fast forward to now, and Shedeur is about to line up against that very team. You don't think there's extra fuel in the tank? Of course there is. The newly released practice footage shows Shedeur working with the first team offense, getting critical reps. No, the cameras aren't catching play designs or game plans, but what is visible tells you plenty. He's out there with Denzel Ward and the rest of the squad, building chemistry, learning timing, earning trust. Step by step, he's proving why he deserves to be the guy. And if you're enjoying this breakdown of Shedeur's journey, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because this rookie season is unfolding in real time. Off the field, Shedeur has been quiet. No theatrics, no constant posting, just the occasional message that says everything you need to know. A simple, thank God, grounded, focused, humble. But here's something many fans missed. Shedeur now has his official website, the Legendary Store, his logo, his merch, his new collection. Those $ hats you see everywhere, that gear comes straight from his official shop. Clean branding, quiet confidence. Then the conversation exploded. J.J. Watt and Pat McAfee broke down Shedeur's performance, and their analysis turned heads. J.J. pointed out that Cleveland is playing a lot of rookies right now, and many of them are holding their own. He highlighted how defenses are deliberately taking away Shedeur's deep ball, forcing him to operate underneath. And what did Shedeur do? Exactly what the situation demanded. He didn't force hero throws. He took what the defense surrendered. He used his legs. He stayed composed. Then JJ dropped a moment that says everything about Shedeur's toughness. During the game, Shedeur got stepped on. The tip of his pinky was literally hanging off. What did he do? Taped it up, went right back in. No drama, no excuses. That's grit. That's quarterback DNA. JJ was clear, there's still plenty to improve. No one's denying that. But in terms of foundational traits, there's a lot to be excited about. Pat McAfee added his perspective, admitting he's been watching Browns games closely this season, checking on Shedeur's progress, and keeping an eye on Myles Garrett's stat line. He joked about growing up in Pittsburgh, being told Cleveland would never win at football. Rivalry narratives run deep. But then he visited Cleveland and was genuinely surprised. The city, the waterfront, the casino, the energy. It shifted his entire perception. And then came the real debate, the one that actually matters for Shedeur's development. A Browns insider sparked controversy by saying he wants Shedeur tested, truly tested. He doesn't love the heavy check-down approach because, in his view, that doesn't fully evaluate a quarterback. He wants to see Shedeur push the ball downfield against elite defenses. Tight windows, vertical concepts, high difficulty throws, that's where real evaluations happen. His argument is blunt. If Shedeur is constantly checking it down, what are we really learning? Can he stretch a defense? Can he throw over the top? Can he deliver strikes into traffic under pressure? The insider even said he doesn't care if interceptions happen right now, because mistakes are data. They're part of the evaluation. He admitted he learned very little from the Buffalo game due to the conservative approach, and that frustrated him. But here's the counterpunch, and this is where it gets spicy. Another analyst said he was very encouraged by what he saw against Buffalo. Why? Because the Bills' defense deliberately erased the deep ball. They weren't going to let Shedeur beat them over the top. They dared him to take the check down every single time, and Shedeur did exactly that. He didn't force throws that weren't there. He didn't panic. He played smart football. That's the real evaluation point. He read the defense, he adjusted, he protected the ball, he showed discipline, he showed maturity. And that tells you just as much, if not more, about a young quarterback than reckless downfield shots. This is the tension. This is the crossroads. And this is why Shedeur Sanders' story is only getting louder. The central evaluation point is simple but powerful. Shedeur took exactly what the defense gave him instead of forcing reckless throws. When there were no receivers open at the second or third level, he didn't panic. He didn't gamble. He made the intelligent decision. One analyst even contrasted this with other rookie quarterbacks who fall into the trap of obsessively checking the ball down despite having open receivers downfield. That's when it becomes a problem. But against the Bills, Shedeur's performance actually graded out positively because it showcased discipline, composure, and real football intelligence. The defense essentially said, "We know you want to stretch the field. We're not letting you." And Shedeur responded by calmly taking the check down, moving the chains, and avoiding costly mistakes. This is the timeless quarterback development debate. Do you want your rookie to play fearless, take chances, and learn through interceptions and losses? Or do you want him to demonstrate control, protect the football, read defenses correctly, and build confidence by making the right decision every snap? Both arguments carry weight, and that's what makes this situation so compelling. How Cleveland chooses to balance those philosophies will define Shedeur's growth moving forward. Make sure you subscribe because we're tracking every step of Shedeur's journey, from practice footage to game day execution to analyst reactions breaking down his development in real time. What adds another layer of intrigue is the opponent. Shedeur is lining up against Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, a franchise that reportedly had interest in him, but ultimately passed. That's fuel. That's motivation. You already know Shedeur is coming with his A game, determined to show Pittsburgh exactly what they let slip through their fingers. Revenge game narratives always add heat, and this one is no exception. And let's not overlook the symbolism here. While most people were celebrating Christmas Eve with their families, Shedeur was in Cleveland grinding. That tells you everything about his mindset. This isn't someone content with simply making the NFL. He wants to dominate it. He wants to silence doubt, and he's willing to sacrifice comfort to get there. Those first team reps matter. Every snap is currency, and Shedeur is absorbing everything like a sponge. Zooming out, Cleveland suddenly looks like a team with real foundational pieces. A potential defensive rookie of the year candidate in Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, talent on both sides of the ball, and now a quarterback who's proving he can handle the mental side of the game. That's critical. The physical tools were never the question. The real tests were always upstairs. Can he process defenses quickly? Can he make smart decisions under pressure? Can he stay poised when things turn chaotic? Early signs suggest yes, the pinky injury perfectly captures Shedeur's mentality. In a league where toughness still matters, especially at quarterback, this moment spoke volumes. The tip of his finger was hanging off. He taped it up and kept playing. No theatrics, no excuses. That's the kind of moment teammates remember. That's how respect is earned in a locker room. As we head into this matchup with Pittsburgh, all eyes are locked on Shedeur Sanders. Will the Steelers adjust their defensive approach? Will they clamp down on the short game and dare him to beat them deep? Or will they mirror Buffalo's strategy and let him methodically move the ball underneath? However they choose to play it, Shedeur will be ready, and we'll be here breaking down every snap. Before we wrap this up, if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single update on Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. We're bringing you exclusive footage, expert analysis, and inside perspective all season long. The debate around Shedeur's evaluation isn't going away. Some fans want the gunslinger, the deep shots, the fearless aggression. Others value the calculated approach, the patience, the discipline, the ability to read and react without forcing disaster. The truth? as always, lives in the middle. Shedeur needs to prove he can do both. Be smart when the situation demands it. Be aggressive when the opportunity is there. What makes this exciting is that we're watching a quarterback evolve in real time. Every game is a lesson. Every practice rep strengthens the foundation of what could be a long NFL career. The Christmas Eve practice footage may not reveal play designs, but it reveals something more important: dedication, discipline, and an obsession with improvement. That's what separates good players from great ones. So as we celebrate the holidays, recognize what we're witnessing: a rookie quarterback sacrificing time with family to chase excellence at the highest level. That's rare, that's special. And with the talent around him, the support of the coaching staff, and his relentless work ethic, the ceiling for Shedeur Sanders is sky high. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you want to see Shedeur take more risks and push the ball downfield? Or do you respect the smart, calculated approach against elite defenses? Are you fired up for this Pittsburgh matchup? What does Shedeur need to show to prove he's the real deal? Let's talk. Happy holidays to everyone. And remember, keep grinding like Shedeur. Success doesn't take days off, and neither should you when you're chasing greatness. Until next time, shake the haters. The Browns are the most dysfunctional organization in the NFL. Period. Full stop. Cleveland sports media didn't just react this week, it detonated. Jason Lloyd stepped into the conversation armed with analytics, locked and loaded with cold, unforgiving numbers, meant to end the Shedeur Sanders debate once and for all. His conclusion was blunt and damning. Shedeur doesn't know what he's seeing. He doesn't flip protections. He doesn't recognize when he's hot. And to be clear, that's not fan talk or social media noise. Those are claims Lloyd says are coming directly from inside the building. According to those voices, Shedeur can only throw to wide open receivers. He doesn't throw guys open. He doesn't attack tight windows. And after the Titans game, these last 2 weeks were supposed to be his proving ground, his chance to show he could be the guy against playoff-level competition. Lloyd's verdict? He didn't pass the test. This isn't it. Jason Lloyd wanted to slam the door on the Shedeur Sanders discussion permanently, but G. Bush had other plans. Because what Bush did next wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a demolition. He attacked the foundation of Lloyd's argument itself. The narrative had been that Shedeur couldn't function within structure, that he was a one-throw quarterback, boom or bust. But Bush pointed to the tape. 1 week, Shedeur is criticized for freelancing. The next week, he's throwing on time. 1 week, they say he drifts backward. The next, he's stepping up in the pocket. Former quarterbacks see it. Chase Daniels talks about it. Others echo it. Progression is happening right in front of everyone's eyes. And that's the point. You can pull a stat, isolate a number, and declare, this guy is the worst quarterback of all time. But nobody who actually plays football, studies football, or understands the position is watching Shedeur Sanders and coming away with that conclusion. Not one. This wasn't a debate, it was a massacre. And by the end of it, Jason Lloyd's argument was in shambles. Let's walk through how it unraveled. The Browns lost 23-20 to the Buffalo Bills. Another close loss. Another moral victory that doesn't move the standings. Cleveland sits at 3-11, staring straight down the barrel of a top 2 draft pick. And the question that's been hovering over this franchise finally burst into the open. Is Shedeur Sanders the answer at quarterback? Lloyd leaned into the numbers. EPA per dropback, efficiency metrics, historical comparisons. According to the data, Shedeur grades out as one of the worst quarterbacks in modern NFL history. By EPA per dropback, Lloyd argued, he's worse than Jamarcus Russell. And EPA isn't some casual stat. It factors in down and distance, field position, home or away, time and score. It's designed to be all-encompassing. Lloyd presented it as irrefutable truth. Data so definitive it should end the conversation immediately. But G. Bush wasn't buying it. He pushed back with something analytics often struggle to quantify: context. He pointed to Kenny Pickett throwing for 5 yards and being labeled the best option. He referenced Jackson Dart throwing for barely 30 yards and people still framing it as acceptable. Cam Ward's numbers? Underwhelming all season. And suddenly, those performances come with explanations, grace, patience. But Shedeur doesn't get that luxury. This is where the conversation turned volcanic. Bush wasn't just defending Shedeur, he was indicting the entire premise of judging a fifth-round rookie trapped behind the worst offensive line in football, throwing to receivers who generate the least separation in the league, operating within a system that's been broken all season. The line ranks dead last. The run game collapsed after Quinch and Judkins went down, and somehow Shedeur is expected to elevate all of it on his own. Bush said it plainly: you cannot evaluate a quarterback in a vacuum. And here's where it gets even more revealing. Jason Lloyd doubled down on EPA, expected points added, as the definitive standard. EPA measures how much a quarterback contributes to or subtracts from a team's scoring expectation on each play. And by that measure, Lloyd argued, Shedeur Sanders is historically bad, the worst since 2000. But Bush fired back with a reality check that cracked the entire panel. He pointed out how often we watch quarterbacks play objectively terrible games and still contextualize them away. He referenced watching Jackson Dart deliver one of the worst performances imaginable, yet somehow that wasn't the story. When challenged on why Jackson Dart even mattered in the conversation, Bush's response cut through the noise. The point wasn't Dart specifically. The point was inconsistency in evaluation, the selective outrage, the double standards. Shedeur Sanders isn't being judged by the same rules. And that's the real story here. Not the numbers, not the charts, not the spreadsheets. The Browns are a dysfunctional franchise attempting to measure a developing quarterback inside a collapsing ecosystem and pretending the data exists in a vacuum. It doesn't. This isn't about whether Shedeur Sanders is perfect. He isn't. It's about whether Cleveland even knows how to evaluate a quarterback anymore. And based on this chaos, based on this debate, the answer might be the most uncomfortable one of all. Thank you guys. See you next video.